Hi, we're Quentin Curious Volumes. My name is James. Today is Friday, October 17th, 2025. And I thought I would come on and do a little Friday Reads update for you all. It seems I finished a couple of short works earlier in the week. Did I finish Dracula this week? I think Dracula I finished last week. So I won't include that, even though I mentioned it. So I read the play The Importance of Being Earnest by Oscar Wilde. That is a good time, let me tell you. And it's also a fun one to read with a production playing, maybe an audio recording or a YouTube video of a stage production. It's a very witty play. It's funny. It might make you laugh. So there you go. I also listened to a pretty short novel on the Spotify application called Seduction Theory by Emily Adrian. I think I was interested in it because it's a campus novel, and I have a passing sometimes interest in campus novels because I spent a lot of time on campuses as a erstwhile academic myself, and I like to occasionally indulge in a campus novel, especially one where the campus denizens are unhappy, which is pretty much all of them, to be honest. This one, they're definitely not very happy. This is a story about, well, if you have a campus novel, what else are you going to have? Some infidelity in it, right? There's always got to be a little bit of adultery and anxiety, like status anxiety about who's on the tenure track and who, things like that. And if you're into English lit and things of that nature, if you keep up with your New Yorker subscription. I don't have a New Yorker subscription. You'll recognize certain references to Harold Bloom or Agnes Callard, there were probably several others that I didn't get that flew by me because I don't have a New Yorker subscription. But so that's kind of fun. I guess, is it funny? Not really. Is it real? This is another thing. Like, think of Pale Fire, right? How much do we trust the narrator? Because the frame of this novel, what it is purported to be, is a thesis submitted for an MFA by a student in this department, and the student thesis, which is autofiction or not. Well, I mean, it's a novel, so it's not Emily Henry is not the author, is not the in the world of the novel, the author of this. It is a graduate student named Roberta, who is in love with her thesis advisor, who is also the most popular and attractive English professor in her department. It's kind of, I guess it is supposed to be maybe Cornell University. They never mention that it's Ivy League, but it's somewhere in upstate New York near Syracuse and Rochester. And it's a prestigious place. There's always going to be some weird things. Like, so this main professor character, Sabrina, is that her name? I've forgotten. Simone. Yeah, Simone, who is the successful author and memoirist and, got her PhD at Yale. This is supposed to be the star of the department, and she's also kind of insouciantly attractive to everyone. She's training for a marathon, and she, had a best-selling memoir. And also, she's like a Virginia Woolf scholar or something like that. This is the thing where it seems a bit unlikely. Someone who is a literature scholar is not going to be teaching is not going to be known for writing a memoir, and is also not going to be teaching creative writing students. So that maybe was a bit off to me from my experience in English literature departments. Her husband is a lecturer, not on the tenure track, not a professor, note, even though he describes himself as a professor a couple of times. But he wrote a novel about the same events that the famous Simone wrote her memoir about. So, there's going to be, this guy is going to feel a bit sort of inadequate. And what do inadequate feeling men in a campus novel do? They have an affair. He doesn't have an affair with a student, which is what you're expecting. I know. He has one with his the department secretary. And that's not the only infidelity in this book. I enjoyed it well enough for the amount of time that it took to listen to on the Spotify application. So if you're looking for something like that, if you like campus novels, if you like messing around with possibly unreliable narrators, maybe give it a try. Okay, the other thing that I am in progress of reading, almost finished, is Tess of the D'Urbervilles by Thomas Hardy. This, of course, is a Victorian classic, and it's really, it's pretty fantastic. I don't want to say too much about it until I'm done, but because also, let me tell you something about this Penguin classic. Now, this is the thing that, it has an introduction, of course, as they all do. And look what it says at the top of the introduction. New readers are advised that this introduction makes the detail of the plot explicit. Thank you. I unsarcastically thank you, Penguin Classic. Often, they usually don't say that. And then if you read the introduction, it will make the plot explicit, the details of the plot explicit, and you may find yourself annoyed. But anyway, and this has a lot of notes and some maps and a poem and a glossary, which is I didn't realize until I'd read several chapters, but that's pretty useful because he throws in a lot of Victorian era like farming terminology and some regionalisms from the Wessex countryside that you may not be familiar with. So that's good. One of the things about the endnotes in this book is there's a lot of them, and I wish there was a way to kind of distinguish when you're reading, because you do have to flip back and forth to find. Sometimes it's going to be a useful explanation of something referred to, or it's going to say, "Oh, this is a reference to Shakespeare," and you're like, "Okay, well, I knew that." And sometimes it's just going to say, "This word is another word in this other edition of the book." There's an Tess. I'm not sure what the Tess is. I didn't read the introduction. And there's something called the Graphic, which I think was maybe it was a serialized version of Tess of the D'Urbervilles. And so I don't care that. So I'll go and I'll flip all the way back, and it's like, oh, in the graphic version, it's a cat instead of two cats, right? And that's not interesting to me. There is one that is very interesting, which is in this. Some things have happened to Tess, who is a young, at this point in the story, is a young unmarried woman who has gone off to work as a poultry tender at a large estate, and she's come back home to her family, who live in a cottage in the English countryside. And her mother's like, well, what happened? And it says, Tess told all. And then there's that's all that's in this paragraph, and there's a footnote, right? And then it goes on to the next paragraph, but it doesn't say what she says. And then if you read the footnote, it has a whole section that was in one of these other versions of Tess of the D'Urbervilles, where she tells this story about a thing, which is, there's stuff that at this point we know has happened to her, but this other thing does not happen, is not told explicitly in the book. So it's a weird incident that is like then not referred to again, but kind of if you go through it thinking that that thing has happened, it changes a lot of stuff, particularly about one of the characters. Anyway, I'm being vague because I don't want to say what happens. And also because I don't know how it ends. But anyway, Tess of the D'Urbervilles, I'm enjoying it. This morning, I've got like 75 pages left to read. I read one thing that made me gasp and laugh at the same time. It's pretty surprising. So, I'm enjoying that. Not the miserable slog that I had suspected it might be. Okay, let's see, what else? I'm in the midst of, and you're going to say the midst, that thing will take you 10 minutes to read, but it's in a foreign language. It's Pablo Neruda's 20 love poems and a song of despair. And in this Penguin Classic, it's bilingual. It has el texto en inglés en una página y en el otro es en español. So I'm using that to practice because I'm trying to improve my reading of Spanish. So there's that. I've also been making my way through a couple of collections of Spanish short stories for learners. So they're written to be kind of graded. They were on Amazon Kindle Unlimited. I didn't pay anything, but it's if you're interested, it's a 2-volume set called Spanish. What is it called? Short Stories to Learn Spanish, Volume 1 and 2, by Luis and Blanca Pelayo. And it's okay. I don't think that they're like the first volume is a lot more kind of consciously graded, and will tell you at the start we're going to use these tenses, and we're introducing subjunctive here or whatever. The second volume doesn't really do that, and it doesn't. I'm almost finished with it, and it's supposed to be advanced by the end. It's not. Doesn't seem like it's that advanced. It's introducing more vocabulary, but the grammatical constructions are mostly, I don't know, they seem kind of intermediate to me, because I'm understanding it. So I don't know. I think of it when I attempt something like something actually written by a Spaniard for Spanish readers, it's definitely a lot harder for me. So anyway, that's that. Also, if you're interested, I did a couple of videos where I read some poetry by the Chilean poet Gabriela Mistral, and just this week, the great podcast History of Literature did an episode on Gabriela Mistral, which is a lot of fun, and he reads some of the poems in English. But if you're not familiar with History of Literature, maybe give it a try. The host is very charming, and well, I think he is. You might, but if you like it, there is a wealth. There's hundreds of episodes on all kinds of literary topics to listen to. Let's see. I had a small haul of books, kind of a 2-part haul. So my last video on this channel was about the Nobel Prize for Literature, and I told you, well, you probably already knew, that Laszlo Krasznahorkai was the laureate for this year, and I ordered a couple of books on Amazon. I'll try and read these next month. I got the Melancholy of Resistance, and I got Herscht 07769. Why did I go so nuts spending money on these books that I'm probably going to hate? I don't know. But God, so I've read a page or two of each of these, and I don't know. This one is exciting me less than this one. This one seems kind of, it's the beginning of it is a little more gripping. They're both wall of text kind of books. So no paragraph breaks, which I gotta say I hate, but it's fine. It's whatever. And apparently this one has only one period in it. And then another interesting thing that happened to me is I read while, learning about Laszlo Krasznahorkai that the last Hungarian to win the Nobel Prize for Literature was Imre Kertesz, or Kertesz, and he won in the early 1970s. And I was out taking a walk, and I came across a little free library, and look what they had. Imre Kertész's novel Fatelessness. I've never seen this out in the wild before, but now I have it. Look, it's got punctuation, it's got paragraphs and everything. So, there you go. Have you read this? Have you read anything by Imre Kertész? I've never heard anyone make reference to Imre Kertész except for the fact that he won the Nobel Prize. So let me know what you think about that. And if you've read either of these Krasznahorkai books, which is did you have a favorable opinion of them? Let me know about that. Let's see. Also on Wednesday afternoon, I was a guest on Book Time with Elvis's live stream that he does with Randy Ray called, I think it's called Book Talk Live, or BookTube Talk Live. Anyway, it's a series that they've been doing on Wednesdays where they talk to a booktuber, kind of about the experience of being a booktuber. So if you're interested in that, I had a great deal of fun doing it. It's I don't often get to see it because they do it during the workday. I did it on my lunch break, and it was a really fun conversation. So if you're interested, I'll put a link to that live stream in the comments or in the notes below. And I also want to announce, if you haven't seen it elsewhere, that Randy Ray, the literate Texan, and I are doing a new live stream series on Sunday evenings called Cinephile Sundays, where we talk about a classic movie. We did one 2 weeks ago about Casablanca, and that is up. And we're doing one this Sunday about Star Trek II, The Wrath of Khaaaannn. I've seen this movie twice. Randy has seen this movie, he says, hundreds of times. So we'll see how the balance of that conversation goes. But if you're interested, maybe check out Star Trek II, The Wrath of Khaaaannn. It is usually considered the best of these Star Trek movies, or at least of the original, the ones that had Kirk and Mr. Spock in them and all that. You don't need to have seen Star Trek the Motion Picture, the first Star Trek movie, to understand The Wrath of Khaaaannn. You don't need to be a big Star Trek fanatic to understand The Wrath of Khaaaannn. I am not. But it helps if you're familiar with the general idea of these characters, Kirk and Spock and Bones and Scotty. They're all there. Is Mr. Sulu, Uhura, Chekhov's in it. All the gang. They're all there cutting up and getting into hijinks. And maybe if you just want to hear me and Randy Ray jawing for an hour or so on a Sunday evening as you drift off into a narcoleptic haze. Narcoleptic haze, that doesn't make sense. Anyway, that's what I have to say. Tomorrow in America is the No King's Day protest. If there is one in your community, are you going to go? I'm going to go to mine here in my community in North Carolina because I am mad about what's going on with the government. And if you're not, I don't look. If you're okay with what's going on, I literally do not know what to say. I do not know. So I can understand not wanting to go to a protest, not feeling comfortable with it. But I hope that if you're upset with what's going on, you're doing something. I've not done very much myself. This is what I do. I watch and read the news, and I watch a bunch of YouTube videos and get mad about stuff. And sometimes I call my representative, who is Pat Harrigan, and Pat Harrington, oh my, and does not care what I have to say. So yeah, this is what's left to us, I think, and so this is what I'm going to do. And yeah, I don't know how we get out of this, but I'm tired. I'm just angry all the time about it, to be honest. And it's a colossal waste of mental energy thinking about these goons running around abducting people off the streets, and about this idiot who is running our... Okay, look, you don't come here for this, right? You don't come here for this. You know what I'm saying, right? If you disagree with me, I don't care. Keep it to yourself. But that's how I feel. And that's what I'm going to do this weekend. I hope you're going to do something fun. I hope you're going to read something great. And let me know in the comments. And I will see you out there at the No Kings protest, where you're definitely going to go, right? Okay, bye.